Humble Bundle Black Game Developer Fund. That's right. Get to know the Black Game Developer Fund, a 1 million annual program focused on supporting Black game developers, helping publish games with funding, production, and marketing support via Humble's publishing label. Humble Games. So this session is in English, okay? So if you want to listen it or watch it in Portuguese, just please access the link for the translation here on the channel, all right? So let's welcome, please, the moderator, Carolina Caravana Lobish, lead producer at IRA, and Justin Woodward, co-founder at Media Indie Exchange. How are you guys?
Hey, how's it going? I'm great. Thanks for the intro. That was pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you. I'm shy. I'm shy.
So, thank you very much for inviting us.
The pleasure is mine, you know. So please make yourself comfortable because the screen is yours.
Awesome. Thanks. Let me see if I could adjust my camera
so it matches me. Me too. Okay.
Cool.
So, Justin, let's get on with it because we have little time to chat and a lot of topics to follow. Sure. So here, you are a game developer. You've always been a game developer, and you started even before I did. I began 2009. So I'd like you to go back a little bit and tell everyone how you started in your gaming developing career. I mean, since high school until the point you find IGN, okay?
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing journey, probably a pretty crazy one to be honest too. But I was drawing and I loved action figures, movies, comic books, games since I don't even know how I can remember. I'm an old head at this point, so you know. But I used to love playing video games. I used to draw out maps from, The Legend of Zelda, that type of thing, Metroid. Loved beat 'em ups, that kind of thing. So I really got into art when I was in elementary school. Then
really
I went
good inspirations.
Yeah, for sure. And then I got into an art high school through music because I'm also a musician as well. And I really was drawn to visual art and design. And so through that, I just exercised my character design. I did a lot of comic book character creation and that type of thing. And that kind of led me after high school trying to figure out what I really wanted to do in life. And I always wanted to develop game. That was like really my passion was games, and then coming up with intricacies or ways to design things. And so I went to the Art Institute basically in the States, which is a video game art school. And we were the guinea pigs. We were like the first class. I think this was in 2003. So there was no other school at that point. There's a couple other, but no programs where I was at, which I grew up in San Diego, California, that actually was focused on game development. And so I kind of got my chops there. I got to learn 3D art and design, environment art and design, and meet a lot of really, really cool people, some people which I'm friends with today. And then right after that, I immediately got a job in environment art and design at a THQ company, where I did background art and design, LODs, that kind of thing. My passion was art in 3D, but when I kind of got that taste in college of actual game development and production, I found out that like my calling was basically, I really want to get into production and I want to get into design more so than the art, even though I love the art, but now I have an eye for it. So shortly after that, like I didn't really like working as, in a AAA company. It just wasn't for me, just because I'm like such an entrepreneur type person. I used to sell, this is illegal, but I used to sell burnt CDs to the football players at my school, and I used to sell candy bars to the kids. You know what I mean? I'm always kind of hustling in that sense. And so my mind is always like, what can I do? What can I do innovative? How can I start a new business or a new side hustle or work with other people in a different way? And that kind of life wasn't for me.
Resolving all sorts of problems, right?
Yeah, I really dug that. So what I ended up doing was, after that, I was like, I'm not going to work in AAA. My mom was like, you better get your master's degree So I went into school right after that for a master's degree in production and management, at the same time simultaneously starting a new graphic design business. The graphic design business was with friends from school. It was taking off and becoming successful, but I wasn't really happy with that. I really wanted to do game development. And so I was taking on side gigs where I was doing contract work for 3D art at the same time while doing my business and my master's. And it kind of
really
came
busy.
Yeah, really busy, as I still am. But and from that I was like, hey, what can I do to understand the business better? And luckily I was doing as I was doing branding for companies, I was doing illustration and that type of thing for companies. I ran into who's now been my mentor for over 12 years, Alicia Castillo, who is from Venezuela, and she actually helped me understand business. She was an entrepreneurial woman, and she was like, "You need to do this, that, and the third." And she helped me start my LLC. She helped me get my first funding, and then I was just taking on I had a small team of development. That I was creating for development. We were doing side projects, and we were working on this one game called Super Combo Man. And during that time, there was a bunch of things that happened where they have contests on we could get your game funded, that type of thing. And this one thing popped up, which was the IGN Indie Open House, which was an amazing program that was ran by GameSpy, who was owned by IGN at the time, where they were trying to learn how developers work in Unity and pivot to working with indie developers, because at that time it was 2010. Indie games are really popping. And so what ended up happening, which was pretty interesting, is I had another mentor, Clinton Keith, who brought in Agile Scrum into the industry, and I worked with him on helping to teach others Agile Scrum and development, like folks like EA and Ubisoft and those type of folks. And the opportunity came. IGN was like, "We like your game." We pitched our game. They said, "We like our game. You have 1 week to decide if you want to come out or not." And we basically said, I didn't have any money at all. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get up there. I just have this old raggedy car, and we would have to pack up the car and go up and find a place to stay, because it's in San Francisco, which is, that's around 8 hours away from where we live by car. And it's expensive in San Francisco. It's like, how are we going to do this? So we ended up the whole team is like, yes, we're in. I said, I'll figure out how to cover our rent for the next few months. I did a deal with our school saying I'll write a blog. Alicia was like, I will give you $2,000 and invest in you to make that happen. You need to make it happen, because she lived in Santa Clara. And so I ended up going up. We ended up just packing our stuff in our this old raggedy Nissan, and we went up there and we made it happen. And from then, it's been an amazing journey. Like I was, when I was at IGN, who are very close today. We actually work with IGN. They're one of we consult for IGN right now through the mix. So from that, we were developing our game. We got to show our game at GDC. We got to understand how to talk to press. I always tell people, like, I'm talking to you and there's other people in here. I would not be able to express myself this way. I'm an outgoing person, but I would be scared to talk on the camera or to people. But I got press training. We got to show our game everywhere. Like another guy who was really awesome in my development, he pulled me under his wing and he showed me how to pitch to Capcom. I went to a bunch of different Sega, a bunch of different places, Namco, and I learned how to hone my skills on, in communicating with different publishers and stuff. And so that kind of led to when we were at the IGN Indie Open House. It was a really great experience because we were working with a lot of other indie developers. My friends, they became my really close friends. And then the GDC of 2012, it was Alex Austin, who's an amazing programmer and developer, and then it was also John Polson, who now works. He's the head of catalog at Humble Games. We started this thing, and we didn't call it anything, but it was just a bunch of us getting together, showing our games in the cafeteria of IGN. And then the next year, I was like, "Hey, let's call it The Mix." And we branded it The Mix, and that was 2013. And then from there, I basically started a trajectory of two different businesses, which all kind of coincide. But it was great because it helped me understand how to communicate with publishers and get funding for my first game. We partnered with Adult Swim Games. That was our first publisher. And then later on, we partnered with another company who was another publisher who helped us fund the game. And at that time, and also we went to Double Fine and started working, with them and out of their indie space. But then the mix was great because I was able to figure out how to get like close relationships with PlayStation and Nintendo and Microsoft and Raw Fury and Humble Bundle and like all these great publishers and then just amazing developers. So over the years, it blossomed and grew. The mix has been, we've been worldwide. We've gone to Bit Summit in Kyoto. We've done Gamescom. We've been to Amsterdam and did teamed up with Unity. We've teamed up with Intel. Now we're, and that kind of leads us back into this. Hopefully I'm not taking too long.
Exactly. You're where I wanted you to be, because if you're watching this, now you have a picture of how experienced, Justin is. So this is the perfect setup for what you do to Humble right now, which is you're a consultant for the funding. So how that happened? I mean, we have your relationship. You're close to John Paulson. You're close to. I mean, Humble since the beginning. So you're someone they could approach. So how did that happen, and how you're with this fund?
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, I think this is one of the things that you should talk. You should always treat people right, and you should always, try to help people out, because if you're staying in this business for the long haul, I've been here for almost 15 years. Exactly. You're going to be working with the same people, and you don't want people to call you an asshole or whatever. But
exactly.
So basically, when we did the second round of the Indie Open House, one of the co-founders of Humble Bundle actually was working on his game there. So Humble Bundle was initially a platform for marketing and helping out indies, but also it started because they were trying to market their own game. It was Wolfire Games, and it was David Rosen. He was one of the co-founders, and we became really cool. And so I actually went to their office when there was like 6 people there at like above a Starbucks, which was really, really cool. So that's how far it goes along in the lineage. And then over the years, we've worked with them. Like we worked with them on South by Southwest. They were a sponsor of ours. And then I've known John, forever. And then so basically, just to cut it kind of short, is what happened was, we did this big event called the Guerrilla Collective, which was an extension of the mix, where we partnered up with like 28 different publishers, and like we had over 90 games. Humble Games was one of the publishers that were ingrained within that event that we helped to produce. And that's what we've been doing since the pandemic. COVID is the mix has been doing a lot of broadcasting production, big, and partnering with like Twitch and IGN and GameSpot. Anyway, so we were working with them anyway. All these tragedies were happening in the States where police were shooting black men, and women like Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. And the George Floyd thing kind of was the last thing that really excited people. And you probably don't know about, I don't know if anyone knows about the location of where I'm at. I'm in Oakland, California, which is it's in the Bay where San Francisco is. It's where the Black Panthers started. And so there's a huge movement, and I feel very emotionally involved, and a lot of tension and things were going on, protests and that kind of thing. And we were trying to figure out what to do, because we were doing the Guerrilla Collective, and the day we were supposed to launch the whole event, everything kind of went crazy. And luckily Raw Fury came in and Kickstarter came in, and they're like, we'll help you fund this thing. And it was called Black Voice in Gaming, the mixed Black Voice in Gaming, where we celebrated Black game developers. And the other thing that happened was, like, I think Stadia, Google, a bunch of people were starting these funds, and a lot of them were reaching out to me and a few others in the game industry, because there wasn't a lot of not a lot of Black game developers, especially with experience, that communicate with a lot of people. So they're asking us for our thoughts, how they should approach it, because they genuinely wanted to do something great. And the cool thing about Humble was they were really, I think Eduardo at the time, and of course John and their whole team was like, "Hey Justin, let's have a conversation. Let's see what we can do." And we chatted and we came up with some ideas. And the next thing I knew, like, I think like a couple weeks later, they were like, "Look, we really want to work with you on this initiative, and let's figure out how we're going to make it work." And so they hired me as a consultant and advisor, and then they hired Site from, so she takes care of all of Africa, so I take care of Europe and and Americas. And it's been an amazing process, just because there's a lot of organizations out there, and not all the organizations actually really put their money on the line and they actually move forward with it. And this wasn't, you're just talking from the heart, and I'm speaking the truth. Like, they were like willing to take a risk with the $1 million fund, and keep it going, and then also like figure out a plan where they're actually involving Black game developers, because I've dealt with it all, right? Like, first and foremost, I feel that my art speaks for itself, my development speaks for itself, and what I do with the mix speaks for itself. But then there's other layers of it where it's social, economical, racial, that you don't immediately get when you're in the bubble of game developers. You have this kind of bond with them, but then you start to, when you're trying to get money, or you're trying to do other things, or sell your game, you start to see how it's not balanced. And that's kind of what I really want with the Black Voice in Gaming, with the mix, and then also, of course, with the Black Game Developer Fund. I want to help with that balance.
Sure, that's amazing. That's really amazing, and it's interesting how your own story tells us about how maybe you had an opportunity and you didn't have the money to pursue it. So you had that. This actually happens with a lot of game developers, with a lot of people that are studying and is starting to develop. And sometimes you have an opportunity, you just cannot pursue that. And along with the other problems that happen, that's a main issue. So funding is really, really important, and doing funding right is really important too. So I think we can go to Q&A. Okay, no, so far, people, you can ask questions now. We can answer them. Can you see that? Can you read that?
Yeah. Can you leave a message for Black people who want to join? So I guess, what do you, I mean, are you talking about, do you want to get into games? Like, a message for Black people want to get into game development? Is that the question?
Yeah, maybe tips on how you can enter the game sector.
I would say tips is just make stuff. Make as much stuff as you can. Pick up Unreal, pick up Unity, pick up Game Maker, and just start making stuff and start communicating with people about your stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have the money to like put your game on Steam, that's a great way to do it. Put it on itch, like just make stuff and start to communicate. Also, like, figure out what you want to do with it. Do you want this to be a hobby? Do you want it to be a business? Do you want to be self-employed? Those things will help you figure out your path to success.
Really nice. I think that one thing that is important to say also is you can go to Humble Games. What's the okay, I have it. Okay, / Black Game Dev Fund, and then you have all the rules for the funding. You have a form. They explain your role in the process, which is really nice. And in the form, if you click it, you can get a template of the pitch, which is really, really nice. Even if you're not applying to Humble, you can have that to apply to other.
It's really
it's really good. Really good to study that, right? So one other thing that it's probably one one question people would have is there a theme, or you have to be only one Black person developing the game, or you have to have a Black character in the game? How is supposed to be in the process, so you can actually win one of the fundings?
Yeah, could you mind if I answer the question first, real quick?
Sure, obviously.
Yeah, and then I'll go back to that. Yes, we are actually talking to Black Brazilian.
I'm gonna read the question first because people won't see that.
Oh,
Black
okay,
Brazilian developers
yeah.
can also join this program. Yes,
of course, all over the world. I'm talking to people from all over the world, literally. Like, so, yeah, we encourage you to apply.
That's why we're here, people.
Yeah, exactly. And we're signing. We are signing a lot of stuff. So, and I'll just be very I'll just be upfront. Like right now, we're really focused on helping developers prototype, because that's where we see the need for development right now for a lot of Black developers just getting into the industry. But to answer your question, yeah, you just have to have a predominantly or 50-50 Black team, with the leads on the project being Black, or one of them at least, right? It has to be obvious, you know what I mean, that it's your business.
Sure.
But the protagonist doesn't matter. I think that's where a misconception that I've seen from other funds or other folks in the industry is like, I am personally making a few games right now, and they don't necessarily have a Black avatar, right, or main character. And it's just because those are the games I decided to make right now. And I don't think that because it's a diversity fund or a Black game developer fund, that should change how you use your imagination for what you want to do. But I would say that for this fund, and as a Black developer, entrepreneur, business owner, it's very helpful that you do have a culturally sound plan, or think about that, because it will help shape. This sounds kind of corny, but this will help shape our youth. This will help shape people in the industry. So I would say, in your games, having that message or having something that relates to you is what changes.
If you have that voice, if you can, if you have the power to make this decision, you could actually tell a very good story about yourself. Same thing for other types of funding. I think it's been an amazing talk. We have maybe time for one more question if someone asks. If not, I'm going to really thank you for your time, and especially because we have a diversity council in Abra Games. I'm inviting you uphand to another of our events that will happen on Discord later this year. If you have the time, it would be amazing maybe to talk to you and another developer that maybe won the fund. It'll be a really good experience.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So I think that's it.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time. It was amazing.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Carolina, and thank you, Justin. This was super interesting. And you at home watching this, just make yourself comfortable and enjoy this, and go ahead and try to, who knows, maybe your game could be in the Black Game Developer Fund. That's it.
Big Festival 2021, the biggest games festival in Latin America.